Welcome to Stellar Sisters, the podcast where cosmic wisdom meets soul-enriching conversation.
We explore astrology, human design, and the unique blueprint of your soul, helping you understand yourself on a deeper level.
Consider this your permission slip to embrace the magic of being authentically you.
Let's begin.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Stellar Sisters. I'm your host, Chanel, your guide for all things astrology, and we have Sydney, your guide for all things human design. Today's episode is all about eclipse season. We are entering another eclipse portal, this time with eclipses in Aquarius and Virgo. So I'm going to talk all about the meaning of these eclipses and go into horoscopes for every sign. So stay tuned and listen for your rising sign. Before we get into the horoscopes, we've had a lot of things going on astrologically that I want to touch on. Sid, you said to me a couple of weeks ago about parenting, like, oh yeah, when kids come up on their second birthday, they go through their Mars return, which kind of correlates to what everyone calls the terrible twos, which, you know, mixed feelings about that phrase, but I understand where they're coming from with that because, you know, and I had never thought about the Mars return when they turned two, but I found it so interesting and so accurate. So, you know, Mars is the planet of assertion, of independence, of drive, of energy. And around two, Mars goes back to where it was when your baby was born. And so they have this surge of independence, of asserting themselves, of wanting to do things themselves. And boy, oh boy, is that so true for the phase that I'm going in with my son, because he's going to be 2 in March. And Mars just went into Aquarius, where he has his natal Mars. And oh my God, I am so in that stage right now where he is like all of a sudden wanting to do things himself. He, you know, wants to hold his cup as I pour the water. He wants to screw the lid on. He is asking for things. He, you know, by name, by himself, which is new. He's, you know, just definitely in this like surge stage of independence and wanting to do things himself. And I just, astrologically, it also makes so much sense because of course it does, but I never thought about it like that.
No, it's so cool to watch those things as a parent. And it happened to me too with Faye. It was like this switch where it's just like, no, like I do it. You know, they just want to do everything. They want to be in charge. They want to be able to control something. Yeah. And just assert themselves. Like they're really starting to learn how to do that. And yeah, I just love how it corresponds with the Mars return. It's just
yeah,
comical.
It's so true, you know. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very exhausting as a parent. And I'm sure if you are a parent, you know what I mean. But it's also very cool to see them develop that and have trust in themselves to do things. And you know, doing things takes like 5 times longer than it should, but it's just really interesting how that like really correlated with his Mars return and gives you a good sense of what that Mars energy is, of like, you know, asserting yourself, of being independent, of doing things for yourself. Because we have a lot of Aries energy coming up with Saturn and Neptune entering Aries, and it's very Martian, very Mars ruled. And seeing how this is playing out for Otto is kind of like also like the collective energy shift that we're entering this year with all of this big, big, big Aries energy. And like also reflects, I think, what we are going through and learning as a collective, which is, you know, how do we stand up for ourselves? How do we assert ourselves? How do we become more us, you know, and become more self-reliant? And I think that's kind of cool how that like is mirroring each other in my
Yes.
life right now.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it is so mirrored right now. Wow.
Yeah. And the other thing astrologically, and I talked about this on Instagram a little bit, is just everything that's happening with the Buffalo Bills right now. So obviously, I'm from Buffalo. I have a big Buffalo following. A lot of people, a lot of clients that come see me are from Buffalo. And my partner, Trevor, of course, he's a huge Buffalo Bills
Bill
fan.
fan.
And so I like football, but I love looking at the players' charts. And I like whenever something happens in football, I'm always like pulling up like the players and the coaches' astrological charts, and that makes football way more fun for me. Like I
Yes.
am a Bills fan. I do love the Bills, but I love astrologizing football. And so if you're not from Buffalo, if you don't know, our head coach, Sean McDermott, was fired after the Bills lost in the playoff game against the
Wait, and
Broncos.
why was he fired? Do we know?
He was fired, I think, just because they want to get to the Super Bowl, and they don't necessarily think that he can get us there. But it was such a huge controversy in Buffalo. Like no one from Buffalo wanted him to be fired. Like he's our beloved coach. Like he is very well liked. He was very, very well liked by the team. He really like turned the Buffalo Bills around and got them to the playoffs for I don't even know how many years in a row. You know, he's just a very well liked coach by the players and by the city of Buffalo. And so when he was fired, like it was kind of a shock. Maybe it wasn't a shock, but it was a kind of a blow to just Buffalo in general. And a lot of the players spoke out about it, about, you know, them loving the coach and not agreeing with the decision and things like that. And so of course I'm like, well, I have to look at Sean McDermott's chart because what's going on in his chart? And I don't know his rising sign, but he was born on March 21st, which is the spring equinox, which puts his sun at 0 degrees of Aries. And I'm like, oh, well, this makes total and complete sense because Saturn and Neptune are about to enter Aries. So Neptune enters Aries at 0 degrees of Aries on January 26th. So Neptune is going to be directly on his sun. And then Saturn enters Aries on February 13th at 0 degrees of Aries. So like this is a major, major, huge once in a lifetime transit for him. And their conjunction is happening at 0 degrees of Aries right on his natal sun. So this is a complete like threshold that Sean McDermott is like going through, you know, to be fired, to be like, oh, for some reason I thought he was a Scorpio in my brain. I wish I would have looked at his chart before this happened, but I didn't. So yeah, this is like a total this is just such a great example of the astrology at work in like pop culture. Because he's entering this totally new era. And I've used this like new era term so much, I feel like, when talking about 2026, that people are probably like, yeah, okay, I get it. But I really mean it. when I
Yeah.
say that. And I know that like era is trendy to say, it is a trendy word or whatever, but like it is just like what is happening, you know? And so yeah, this he's having this huge once in a lifetime conjunction happening directly on his sun, which is initiating him into this whole new chapter. But a Neptune transit to the sun is disorienting. You know, it can feel like grief, it can feel like disillusionment, it can feel like, you know, you don't quite have your bearings, you're not quite sure what direction you're going to move in. You know, it can be feeling like Neptune is very watery, like you're lost at sea and you don't know
Mm,
where you're going. And so I feel for him. I feel like he's going through a big period of grief because this is a huge loss for him, obviously, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And him being the head figure of the Buffalo Bills, his astrology chart really kind of represents the whole team, you
Mhm.
know? And so I think that that's really how the team is feeling too, a little bit lost, a little bit confused, a little bit unsure. There's no one at the helm yet. Obviously, of course, they're going to make another hire, but um, it's just very interesting. And so this is kind of like the peak of that confusion time. And obviously, February is the peak of it. And kind of
Yeah.
as we move further into the year, we'll get better. But
Yeah.
just that energy of the collective grief, the collective sadness, the collective confusion, disorientation, not quite sure what is going to come. It's such a good reflection of the astrology of the moment.
Mhm.
What's happening in Buffalo is kind of what's happening for all of us collectively in some area, in some way, in some part of our lives. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yes. Yes. This is such a good example. And, I do feel for him too, but it is nice to have this as an example to talk about. Not that I wish that this would have happened to him, but yeah, it's just nice to have a reflection so people can actually feel into what the energy is,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And with the Buffalo Bills, we um, just built a brand new stadium. And
Mm.
so next season is going to be our first season in that stadium. So um, already there was a feeling of like grief and sadness about people being in the stadium that they grew up with, that they went to with their parents and their
Oh,
grandparents. And that's where, like, you know, they experienced the Bills for decades. And so there was already this feeling of grief, you know, about losing this stadium. And now next season, we're going to be in this brand new stadium and we're going to have this brand new head coach. And it's going to be this whole new era, you
yeah,
know?
whole
And
new
so
energy.
whole new energy. And so again, it's just this another layer of this kind of brand new era that's playing out. And although I liked Sean McDermott, I'm not a huge football person. I'm not going to pretend like I know if it was right or if it was wrong. Personally, I thought he was a great guy and the team seemed to like him. But karmically, this is meant to happen for him, for the team. It's it couldn't have happened any other way. And personal feelings aside from that, this is something that he is meant to go through, you know, and that the team is meant to go through. So we're just entering this total new energy. And yeah, I've taken a look at Josh Allen's chart as well. And so natally, he has Saturn in Aries. And if you don't know Josh Allen, he's the QB of the Buffalo Bills. He won MVP last year. He's one of the best football players currently. I don't expect people who listen to this podcast to necessarily know who Josh Allen is. So, astrology lovers don't always cross over into football lovers. Um, But yeah, so he has his natal Saturn in Aries in the 6th house. He's a Scorpio rising. And so he's actually just about to enter his Saturn return
Whoa.
in the 6th house of work. So, yeah, Saturn in the 6th house can feel like, wow, you have much more pressure on you at work now. You have much more responsibility. You really have to grind day in and day out. Um,
I just went
and
through that. I know what it is. I know what it's
yeah,
like.
yeah. And so that to me is kind of like, oh, Josh is now feeling the pressure. He's feeling the responsibility for the team, for to keep the vibe up, to keep everybody's spirits high, maybe.
Yeah.
And he's a Gemini sun. I think his sun is at 1 degree of Gemini,
Oh, wow.
very early Gemini. And so Uranus is about to move into Gemini in April,
Yeah.
which is also a huge transit. So he's going to have Uranus on his sun, which is can feel destabilizing. It can feel exciting and new, but it can feel like there's a lot of change happening.
Oh, that's a lot to go through with his Saturn return, plus
It's
the
huge.
Uranus and Sun.
Yeah.
Those are two huge things.
Mm-hmm.
And with
Yeah.
Neptune there too during the Saturn return.
Yes.
It's a lot.
It is. It is a lot. And then because he's a Scorpio rising, Leo is his 10th house. And so I was telling Trevor, I was like, even before the Bills lost in the playoffs, I said, I don't think this is the year for the Bills, but I think next year could be the year where we go to the Super Bowl because of that. And this was before Sean McDermott got fired, but because of that Jupiter in his 10th house, that is
Oh,
something that
yeah.
only happens once every 12 years. That is kind of like this crowning achievement moment in terms of your professional life, and he just won MVP of last year. So like, what's the next step from there? I thought I think it's a Super Bowl win.
Wait, I just got chills because my husband's also a Scorpio rising. He's not a football player, but same kind of configuration going on. 6th house with Saturn moving in, 10th house Leo, Jupiter is going to go in there. And his company recently got acquired by Salesforce. And we were like, what's going to happen? Is he going to be safe with his job? And he's safe. And then he also, like a few days after that, we found out he won renewal sales rep of the year. And like he just got a trophy for it.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so it's just kind of like you're saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, it just happened with my husband too. And what's gonna happen when Jupiter goes in there? Like, like
Yeah.
I'm wondering now, like, is he gonna have more responsibility with Saturn going into the 6th? Like, not with me, where Saturn went into my 6th and I immediately got laid off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we know that's not going to happen now, but I mean, maybe they'll do another round of layoffs. But since he got renewals rep of the year, hopefully they're not laying him off.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like they would if he's
Yeah.
winning that award, but maybe it's a promotion
Yeah, maybe.
that does in some way require him to take on more responsibility with Saturn there in the 6th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, keep us posted on that.
Yeah, and can't wait to hear more about the Bills, and I can't wait for you to look up the chart of the new coach.
I know, right? Yes, me too. Yeah. I hope that this doesn't mean that like Josh Allen is leaving the Bills, because Trevor has mentioned that a couple of times. Oh, I'm worried that Josh Allen is going to leave, and I'm like, doesn't he have a contract? Like, isn't that hard to do? I don't understand football again,
Well,
but
I think they all like trade around all the time. I don't really understand it either, but like, doesn't the draft start soon where they like switch teams or whatever? People listening are probably like, she has no idea what she's talking
No, I
about
have
because
no
I
idea
don't.
either. But the Bills, has some sort of contract with him where they've given him X amount of money for X amount of years.
Okay.
But I guess that he could potentially somehow get out of that. It would require probably a large amount of money.
Yeah, like it
But
requires the other team to buy them out,
yeah, I think.
whatever.
Listen, I could be totally wrong. So if you know anything about football, like let us know because I don't really know how that works. But obviously Buffalo would be devastated if Josh left. I hope he doesn't. And I do see positive things coming to him professionally for like the 2026-2027 season, and he just announced that he's having a baby, which I said this on Instagram that I did predict that, but I didn't predict it publicly. And I wish I would have, but I did tell Trevor, I said, Josh is going to have a baby soon. And he is. So like there's a lot happening in his personal life too. Obviously becoming a dad is huge. But anyway, I just love to astrologize football because that makes it so much more fun and interesting and exciting for me. But I guess we'll see. I think there could be a Super Bowl win coming for Buffalo next year with Josh's chart. I'd love to see who takes over as head coach and look at their chart. But yeah, it just was such a perfect example of this new era that we're entering. And Sean, if you're listening, we love you. And we wish you luck. But yeah. Let's talk about the eclipses that are coming up because this is a pretty big eclipse season because we're having one eclipse at 29 degrees of Aquarius on February 17th. And then we're having another eclipse on March 3rd at 13 degrees of Virgo. And this is our first eclipse in Aquarius that we're having. So it's like the opening eclipse in the Aquarius Leo axis that the eclipses are shifting to. So throughout 2025, we've had eclipses in Virgo and Pisces. And so this is our final eclipse in Virgo and our first eclipse of Aquarius. So it's this opening Aquarius eclipse that is also going to go throughout 2027 as well. So this is just the very beginning of the eclipses in the Aquarius Leo axis. And so this first eclipse in Aquarius is it's a brand new energy that we're all kind of stepping into collectively. And this eclipse in Virgo is an energy that we've been feeling throughout 2025, but it's kind of the closing eclipse in the Virgo series. So we'll first start out by talking about that solar eclipse in Aquarius on February 17th. So this is happening at 29 degrees of Aquarius. So if you do have any personal planets around 29 degrees of Aquarius, like someone I know that is maybe on this podcast right now.
Moon is there. My moon is 28 Aquarius.
Yes. So if you have any planets around like the end degrees of the fixed signs, so Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio, you might feel this eclipse a little bit stronger than the rest of us. But this eclipse is very interesting for two reasons. One, because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, and so this eclipse is ruled by Saturn in Aries. So it literally would just moved into Aries 4 days before this eclipse. And so this is not only a Saturn moving into Aries, but then we have a Saturn ruled eclipse 4 days later.
Yeah.
So it's like really highlighting this new Saturnian energy that we have. So very interesting that both of these are happening like in the same week. And then 3 days after the eclipse on February 20th, we have the exact conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. So that Saturn Neptune conjunction is February is going to be a very interesting month. February is a very interesting month because it's kind of that peak of that Neptune disillusionment energy, that Neptune fog. It can feel very inspiring and very idealistic and very creative and very compassionate and very empathic. Those are kind of the positive significations of Neptune, but it can also feel a little bit foggy, like you're not seeing clearly, like you don't have all of the information, a little disillusioned. It can feel like grief. So those are kind of the energies that will be peak in February. So if you're making a big decision in February, if you can just hold off, I think a little bit, even if until like March, we're entering a Mercury retrograde in February, which I'll talk about too. If you can maybe wait until that Mercury retrograde is over, which is on March 20th. I know it's kind of seems like a long time away, but there's just a lot going on astrologically in Aquarius. And so we might not be able to see things fully and clearly.
Well, and that kind of corresponds with what I was saying in our last episode of like, maybe not taking action until the spring equinox.
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, totally.
The astrology just really supports it this year. Like, we're in the middle of a huge snowstorm right now. Let's just hibernate, reflect, and go inward. And then once spring starts blooming, that's when we can maybe take some action.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's a great plan. We're like thinking up what we want to do, maybe setting the foundation for that, and we can really take off and start running around the spring equinox. Agree. Yeah. And what also is interesting about the solar eclipse in Aquarius is it's highlighting Pluto that just moved into Aquarius as well. So Pluto moved into Aquarius, I believe it was last year for good. It will be there for like 30 years or something like that. So this is also initiating us into a little bit of our Pluto in Aquarius story as well. And so this is uncovering deep truths, stripping us down. It's like a death and rebirth with Pluto. What part of us needs to die in order for us to be reborn again in this Aquarius area of our charts? And Aquarius is all about community, all about social causes, about future-oriented change. And so collectively, I've said this, in our 2026 horoscope episode as well, our attention is really shifting towards social causes, social upheaval, social and humanitarian causes for the greater good, which we're already seeing. There currently is so many protests happening right now against ICE, rightfully so. And it feels very much like power to the people, people wanting to take their power back. And this is also hearkening back to when we had Saturn in Aquarius in like mid to late 2020 to 2022 during COVID times, when we had so much social upheaval and protests and social justice movements. Again, that energy is kind of coming back and opening with this solar eclipse in Aquarius. The solar eclipse is a new moon eclipse. So it is like this new moon, this fresh start energy. So this is just the beginning, this is just the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
On a more personal level, this is maybe shaking up our identity. Aquarius pushes us to be more authentic, to honor what makes us different, to think outside of the box. And yeah, honor those things about ourselves. But yeah, as we get into the horoscopes, so what area of life this is happening in, it's a huge initiation in this Aquarius part of our charts. So we'll get there in a minute, so stay tuned.
And I just want to say in human design, Pluto is in gate 41, which I talked about this in our last episode, but it's really asking us to transform our dreams, our fantasies. What do you want to dream up that's actually going to be authentic to you? Are there dreams that you had in the past that maybe you're no longer in alignment with, or you just don't want to move forward with? That's what gate 41 is really asking us to dive deep into. And what's so interesting about this eclipse is that the sun and the moon are both going to be activating gate 30. That's an Aquarius gate as well. And gate 30 is literally called the gate of feelings. And it's just really asking us to dive deep into our feelings, into our emotions. And this also connects, it connects the whole channel. It connects 4130, creates a channel from the root to the solar plexus. And just this coming together is transformation of dreams through emotion. Which desires are real and which ones are maybe fantasy. And just kind of learning what we actually want by starting to really feel our emotions more fully. And it's, we really, again, you don't have to take action here. It's just kind of having this awareness about what's being brought up here with your emotions and your dreams. It's all just like this transformation of that.
Yeah, it sounds very Neptunian.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, which we're in this kind of like Neptune bubble. Yeah, and why I kind of was talking about be aware of what's true and what's false. There can be disillusionment there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And also, this feels very like AI fake out to me too.
Yes.
Because Saturn represents reality, Neptune represents fantasy. So when they come together, it's like what's real and what's fake. And we're already seeing that with the rise of AI video, but this is like the peak of it. And from here on out, I don't think we'll be able to tell what's real and what's fake in terms of AI video. And yeah, and that kind of goes back into the thing of like, am I being disillusioned or is this real? So that is an interesting energy. Definitely.
Is this AI?
Yeah.
Like every video you watch, like, is that AI?
Seriously though, because there's a lot of like fake news, a lot of fake articles online, and they look real and they're not. But anyway, something to be aware of. Okay. And next we have our lunar eclipse at 13 degrees of Virgo on March 3rd. So a lunar eclipse is a full moon. So this Virgo is being completely illuminated, lit up. And I kind of like this energy because with so much newness happening in Aquarius and Aries, this Virgo energy feels very grounded. It feels very practical. It brings us down a little bit from this big picture kind of Aries era that we're entering Virgo says, okay, like, let's bring this back to what can we do daily? What rituals and habits and systems can we put in place that are actually sustainable for all of this new energy? You know, what are the small actionable steps that we can take to actually accomplish this new long-term dream or vision that we have? And this is our first Virgo eclipse, also without that opposing Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So it feels much lighter, much more practical. So it's kind of a nice grounding energy. The one thing with this Virgo eclipse is Virgo's ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is going to be retrograde. And so this is more about reviewing and reflecting than it is about like fully kind of moving forward and taking action. And so maybe things from 2025 that can come back up under this Virgo eclipse in this Virgo area of our lives, which I'll get into for every sign once we do the horoscopes, can come back up for kind of review and revise that, you know, all of the re's: review, revise, reflect, revisit, is kind of good to keep in mind for this lunar eclipse in Virgo. And so Mercury enters its pre-retrograde shadow on February 11th. It stations retrograde on February 25th. It is Cazimi on March 7th. So March 7th is a good date to kind of keep in mind for downloads, for insight, for getting some real good information about what this Virgo eclipse is asking you to do, how you are going to move forward with that Mercury Cazimi on March 7th. And then Mercury finally stations direct on March 20th. And it finally leaves its post-retrograde shadow on April 9th. So it's, you know, Mercury retrograde with the pre and post shadow can feel very long. So March 20th, it does go direct, which, you know, I think that's a long enough time for us to deal with that. But the shadow, the post-retrograde shadow, doesn't end until April 9th, which feels really far away right now.
Yeah. But hopefully there's some good clarity just with this whole Pisces Virgo axis. Like, hopefully you can get some good clarity around this, especially with the Mercury retrograde. I know sometimes it can be inconvenient, but I think sometimes that can offer even more clarity about this area of your life and what's going on, and kind of wrapping up this cycle here.
Yeah, for sure. Even though Mercury is retrograde, Mercury retrogrades can be so rich with insight, and it can be a time where, you know, it's a much needed time of reflection and review instead of just constantly pushing forward. So I like this energy. It's like, okay, we need to ground ourselves. We need to get real about what are those small steps that we can actually take. And we need to get really clear and really make sure we have a solid foundation for what we're going to do in order to move forward. So I don't hate that Mercury is retrograde during this, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, so these are pretty, you know, interesting, intense eclipses, especially that Aquarius eclipse. And I do want to say that I am offering what I'm calling the Eclipse Portal and Saturn Neptune alignment reading for this whole energy. So these readings cover, you know, your Saturn and Pisces story. We reflect on that a little bit. What lessons have you really learned, and what energy have you been dealing with for the past 3 years, and how has that shown up in your life? It talks about the Saturn and Neptune conjunction in Aries and this brand new initiating energy that's happening in your chart. We talk about the solar eclipse in Aquarius in depth for your personal chart because, like I talked about, this one is complex.
Yeah.
It's deep. We have Pluto, we have Neptune, we have Saturn. It's rich. And then we also talk about the lunar eclipse in Virgo, and what area of life that is for you. And we go kind of deep into that Virgo eclipse story. And so this is a new type of reading that I'm offering where I am recording these via video and sending it off to you. So you don't have to find time to schedule with me. I think people will like that because you can just listen to it whenever. You have full access to the recording to keep, to listen to whenever you want to fall back on that guidance or advice. So I'm really excited about these readings because I think we're entering such a threshold moment collectively, and this can be a really grounding reading for you to kind of come back to and understand what energy is totally shifting for you. So if you are interested in booking that, you can go to my website, luckypennyastrology.com, to book. And I'm really excited to connect with you about your chart. And I do offer after the reading, you can shoot me an email if you have follow-up questions or need clarity on anything. I am available for email communication after the reading as well. Okay, I'm really excited about that new offering. I think it's going to be really cool. All right, should we move into horoscopes then?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, perfect. We will start with Aries. So this solar eclipse in Aquarius for Aries is happening in your 11th house of friendships, of community, of social circles, of humanitarian causes. If you are at all inclined to partake in social movements and social causes, humanitarian causes, this feels like this is your initiation into stepping up into greater involvement in things like that. Because Aquarius in the 11th house feels very much like you care about the collective good. You care about making society a better place, about having that future vision for society and what you want to create in the world. So you might be feeling called to really step up and be that leader, be that person who sees the vision, who brings people together to create what you see, what you would like to see for the future. This also can have to do with just your friendships, your social circle, the people that you surround yourself with, being, finding your village, finding your people, shifting friendships or social circles. Maybe you're finding groups of people that are just more aligned with who you are, because Aries, you're entering this whole new, brand new chapter of self and identity. And so maybe that involves finding greater alignment with the people you surround yourself with. This lunar eclipse in Virgo is happening in your 6th house of work and health. And so again, this is a continuation of a story that has started in 2025. But there's some sort of spotlight around work and health coming for you now around early March. So this could be changes to work. Maybe your work environment is changing. Maybe you get a new job. Maybe you are working from home more or going back into the office more, something like that. I also see this as a really good opportunity for you to get clear about your daily routines, about your wellness routines, and find a really good, solid foundation and fresh start for your health. So use this energy to really find rituals and daily routines that work for you. Okay, let's take a look at Taurus. So Taurus, this solar eclipse in Aquarius is taking place in your 10th house of career and professional life. This is a big one for you, Taurus. So this is opening up a brand new chapter of career for you. I see this as a time when you are stepping out of your comfort zone. You are, really dedicating a lot of time and focus and effort and energy to this new chapter of career. And so, Taurus likes stability, Taurus likes predictability, but this screams like, there's innovation, there is newness, there is change coming to your professional life. So I encourage you to, lean into that energy. This is going after your dream job. If this is taking that promotion, if this is, starting that business, this is really a lot of cool new energy coming to your 10th house of career. And that lunar eclipse in Virgo for you is happening in your 5th house. This is the house of children and pregnancy, and of creativity, and of joy and play and leisure, and of dating. And so this is kind of really highlighting all of that for you. If you are looking to get pregnant or have a baby, this could be a very positive sign for you. But this is really about stepping into your joy, stepping into your creativity, really dedicating small parts of your routine or your day to finding joy, to finding pleasure. The 5th house is one of the most, it's the best house in the chart because it just has to do with fun and pleasure and play and being creative and finding your inner child. And so, find time for that creativity, for that joy. And if you are single or, want some dating and romance in your life, put yourself out there too, because this could be a good time for that as well. So that's your horoscope for a Taurus rising. Okay, Gemini rising. Let's take a look at the solar eclipse in Aquarius for you. This is happening in your 9th house. Gemini loves to learn. You are very curious. You love to take in information. And this can be a time when maybe you're starting a new course of study. This could be quite literally like going back to grad school in some way or taking a new course with this Aquarius eclipse in your 9th house. The 9th house also has to do with spirituality and religion and your big picture truth and your beliefs about the world. So this is initiating you into this whole new cycle of who am I and what do I believe and what are my spiritual beliefs and what are my religious beliefs, and maybe allowing you to come into this next chapter of spirituality for you. Also, if you're feeling the itch to travel abroad, this is your time to do so, and this is your permission slip. So this is a really fun one. If you want to take a trip abroad, go and do it. For the lunar eclipse in Virgo for Gemini, this is happening in your 4th house of home and family and living situation. So again, this is a continuation of energy that's we've had since 2025, but this is really putting the spotlight on your home and your living situation. So maybe you've recently moved, or maybe you are really wanting to move, and this would be a really great time to do that, or renovate, or make changes to your home where you feel even more at peace, even more nurtured and held by your home and the place that you spend the most of your time. So really kind of revamping your living situation. This can also just be about family, about parents, about spending more time with your family, changing family dynamics, letting go of, you felt the pressure at work and in your professional life a lot over this past year. And so this is kind of your permission slip to maybe just rebalance and focus on your home and family and spending time of what makes you feel grounded and secure and held. And that's your horoscope for Gemini rising. Okay, Cancer rising. This solar eclipse is taking place in your 8th house. The solar eclipse in Aquarius. And so the 8th house is the house that represents resources and finances that come from other people. And so this is a brand new chapter of allowing help to come into your life, whether that be financially or whether that be through deepening your intimacy and deepening your relationships with other people. This is really a new era of allowing yourself to be held, to be taken care of, and really leaning into the support, whether that be financially or emotionally or mentally from other people. Which is not a small thing. This is a big thing, especially for Cancers who can sometimes have that tough outer shell. This is really about softening into that inner crab and being and allowing support to come into your life with this Aquarius eclipse in the 8th house. With this lunar eclipse in the 3rd house in Virgo, this is kind of like your time to speak your mind, to share your truth, to really make your voice heard, to work on those communication skills. So if you are thinking about starting a podcast, about taking a speaking gig, about finally writing that book, or, speaking your mind in whatever capacity that may look like in your life, now's the time to be heard, to find your truth, to share your voice, because the world needs to hear it now. This can also highlight potentially taking a road trip or kind of like a trip in a short distance travel. Or maybe you need to get a new car. Maybe it's time to upgrade your car, Cancer. All of those things are coming up for you with this lunar eclipse in Virgo. Okay. And now we're on to Leo. Leo, for you, this solar eclipse in Aquarius is taking place in your 7th house of marriage and relationships. So this is a whole brand new initiation into your relationships. If you are single, this can look like, meeting a partner. This can look like getting engaged or getting married. If you are in a relationship, this can really have you just examining that relationship. How can I show up differently? How do my relationships need different support for the changing circumstances? How can I be a better partner? That kind of thing. And this could also potentially represent major changes happening with your partner during the solar eclipse in Aquarius. But relationships and one-on-one interactions are really coming into focus here. And just focusing on your relationships and this balancing act between give and take in relationships for Leo rising. Okay, and this lunar eclipse in Virgo for Leo risings is happening in your 2nd house of money and finances. So again, this is a story that's continuing from 2025, but it looks like your area of money and finances is really being highlighted here. This could look like maybe you're getting a raise, you're getting a promotion, something is happening at work where your money is being highlighted. Maybe this is a time when you are like setting a budget or getting really clear around your spending habits or your material possessions. This could be a good time to maybe kind of like clear out your closet or put clothes up for sale that you don't wear anymore with this lunar eclipse in the second house. But yeah, there's this spotlight on money and finances for you. But it does look like there's this fresh new energy around money. Maybe if you are starting a new business or have started a new business, this will be a really good time to highlight that and put that out there into the world and make sure that that is fully visible and fully seen with this full moon eclipse in your second house. Okay, for Virgo rising, this solar eclipse in Aquarius is taking place in your sixth house. This is the house of work and health. So this is a total new initiation around how you take care of yourself, your health, and your well-being, and the routines and daily habits and rituals that you have around health. This is a good time to start a new wellness routine, to go to the doctor, to go to the specialist that you've been putting off, to make sure that you have all of the kind of necessary health things in place for you. To thrive and to feel very good and healthy. And alternatively, this is a brand new chapter in terms of work for you. This could be finding a new job, getting a promotion, changing work environments. But yeah, it looks like this is a new chapter around work and health for you, for Virgo rising. And this lunar eclipse is huge for you as a Virgo rising because it's happening in your first house of self. And so for the past 3 years, you've had this heavy, heavy energy in your seventh house of partnerships. So, maybe there's been a lot of focus on your relationships, focus on, on the work and restructuring your partnerships or the way that you interact with people. And this full moon is really kind of bringing the attention back to you and balancing that out with, okay, what do you need? What are, are your desires? Really allowing yourself to take up space, allowing yourself to be seen, allowing yourself to shed old identities with that south node there. You might be showing up differently in relationships after this big, heavy transit to your seventh house. And, now you're a different person. And so you're showing up differently. You are like the snake that has shed its skin, and you're a different being now. And so this is really allowing you to take up space and allowing you to take up that new energy, that new identity. And if people are noticing and they're saying, hey, why aren't you acting the way that you always have? Know that this is your permission slip to embrace that new identity, that to solidify it, to know that you're doing the right thing. You are embodying this new version of self. And so keep that in mind, Virgo, as we hit this eclipse. Okay. Libra rising. This solar eclipse in Aquarius is taking place in your fifth house. So this is a brand new chapter around your identity as a creative person, the way that you experience joy and fun and pleasure in your life. And so you've kind of had this rough go of Saturn in the sixth house where your daily life has felt like a grind. And now that Saturn in Pisces is leaving, maybe your day feels a little bit lighter, feels a little bit better, and you're able to kind of come back to What does my inner child want to do? What kind of creative projects can I get into? How can I cultivate more joy, more creativity, more fun, more pleasure in my life with this fifth house in Aquarius eclipse? And so make joy and make pleasure a priority for you. If you are looking to get pregnant, this could indicate pregnancy as well. I will throw that out there. If you're not looking for that, it doesn't automatically mean that. But yeah, also dating and romance. If you're single and you want to get out there, this could be a really good time to start or meet someone or start a new relationship. And for the lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 3rd, this is happening in your 12th house. Again, this is a continuation of a story that you've gone throughout 2025. But this can really be illuminating some of those subconscious patterns that keep you feeling stuck, that keep you limited, that keep you small. And a full moon eclipse here can really bring revelations or insights into, oh, yeah, I've been carrying this belief around. And you know what? It's time for me to let that go. It's time for me to release that. I don't need to hang on to, maybe this negative patterns and negative self beliefs that I have. I can let some of that go and have this like brand new, fresh start, fresh energy in that area of your life. It can maybe highlight or bring light to where you've had pain or trauma. But with the South Node eclipse there, it's really clearing that out. It's letting that go. And so this is a brand new kind of fresh start in terms of your subconscious, your mental health, your emotional health. And I think it's a really beautiful fresh start for you for Libra risings. Okay. And moving on to Scorpio rising, this solar eclipse is taking place in your fourth house of home and family and living situation. So this is like a brand new energy around the foundation of your life, the foundation of your chart, around your home and family and living situation. If you are looking to move or renovate or change where you live, this will be kind of that initiating energy into starting that process. This can also just be about family or your family dynamics, spending more time with family, spending more time with what makes you feel safe and secure and nurtured. There's a lot happening for you at work this year, and so you're going to need that foundation to come back to of home and family, and to surround yourself with who you are and to feel really nurtured and supported at home so you can then go out and have this new kind of chapter of career that's coming. So yeah, I think lean into that base, that foundation, that groundedness, your family, your home, so that you don't get so caught up in your career this year. So you have kind of a balance of both. Okay, for this lunar eclipse in Virgo, this is happening in your 11th house of friends and community and social circles. So again, this is a continuation of energy that has been happening throughout 2025, but this is really highlighting, putting the spotlight on your friends and your community and your social circles and the people that you surround yourself with. So maybe you've had shifting friendships or things have felt maybe a little unstable with friendships over the past couple of years. But now this is kind of like really drawing your attention to like, okay, who is there for me? What friendships and what social circles are really aligned with me? This could be spending time with friends more. This could be, going out in the community more, being seen more, finding your place in groups, finding your place with like-minded people. But it's a really good time for you to spend time with friends, be out in the community, get involved with social causes, humanitarian causes. yeah, I see this as a positive time for you to be held and be seen with friendship, in terms of friendship and community. Okay. Now Sagittarius rising. Let's take a look at your horoscope for the solar eclipse in Aquarius. So this is happening in your third house of communication. So this is like a whole new chapter for you in terms of reading, writing, speaking. If you are looking to start a podcast, write that book, take that speaking gig, make your voice heard and known. This is really urging you to work on your communication skills, speaking your truth. This is also stimulating your mind. So if there's a new course you want to take, if there's something you really want to learn about, if there's new books that you want to read, a topic that you want to read, this is a whole new chapter around communication and learning and mental stimulation here with the third house. So I would encourage you to be curious, to not assume that you know everything, to really to be curious, to dive into learning something new, to speaking your truth. That will be really, really beneficial for you as we get into 2026 for Sag rising. Okay, the lunar eclipse in Virgo for Sagittarius is happening in your 10th house of career and profession. Again, this is a continuation of a story that we've had throughout 2025, but this is a full moon eclipse in your 10th house. So this seems like some sort of crowning moment in terms of your career and professional life. You're in the spotlight for your career around this time. So this could be getting a new job. This could be getting a promotion. This could be starting a new chapter or path in terms of your professional life or your career. But you are in the spotlight in some way in with the full moon eclipse there. So this is kind of like the final ending to this story around changing career and professional identities for you. So yeah, if you are looking to get a new job, or if something changes or happens with your job, it looks like, uh, now your career should be in much greater alignment than for you than it was, say, like at the beginning of 2025 or 2024. So new stories unfolding in terms of career for Sag rising. Okay, Capricorn rising. This solar eclipse in Aquarius is happening in your second house of money and finances. This is like a brand new story unfolding for you in terms of money and finances, in terms of entrepreneurship. So Capricorns, if you own your own business, or if you have your own side hustle or something like that, this can be a time when you're really putting a lot of time, energy, and focus into that. This can be changing your ideals or ideas around money and finances. This can be kind of taking ownership of your money and finances in some way with Pluto there. But this is like a whole new, brand new chapter around money and finances. If this is like getting a new job, getting a promotion, becoming more aligned with how you earn money. A whole new chapter for you, Capricorn rising, around this area. This lunar eclipse in Virgo is happening in your 9th house of spirituality and beliefs and religion. Again, this is a continuation of a story that's been unfolding throughout 2025, but this is really highlighting your spiritual beliefs, your understanding of the world, your spiritual practices. The 9th house is the house of astrology and human design and self-understanding. And so maybe there has been, and there will continue to be some highlighted interest in, oh yeah, what do I believe? What is my spiritual foundation, and continuing to unfold that story. Maybe that looks like deepening your spiritual practices. Maybe that looks like discovering your chart more. Maybe that looks like just understanding your human design more, understanding yourself more with the ninth house. This also could look like taking a trip abroad, potentially. And this also could look like starting a new course of study, going back to school. The ninth house is the house of higher education. And so there could be some major changes happening for you there. Okay, next up is Aquarius rising. Obviously, if you are an Aquarius rising, this lunar eclipse in Aquarius with Pluto is a huge deal for you, Aquarius. So with Aquarius rising, a lunar eclipse in the first house, especially with Pluto in the mix, like Pluto in the first house, which is a transit that you're going to be going through for like the next 20 to 30 years. And not everything always like happens all at once with Pluto because it's a very slow moving planet, but you are going through a very deep, very personal identity shift and transformation. One where you are taking your personal power back. You are really going deep and uncovering hidden truths of who you are. You are letting go of layers and layers of conditioning that you've had throughout your whole life, and re-examining who you are and how you show up in the world. And this solar eclipse in Aquarius is really initiating that process for you. It's really kind of like throwing you into the fire of this whole process that's going to be starting throughout 2026 and throughout 2027. So this is about rediscovering your identity, about stepping more into your truth, about who you are. This can be about showing up differently, showing up differently in relationships, putting yourself first, not in a selfish way, but in a way where like maybe you self-sacrifice and you're taking your power back and being able to put yourself first. But this is a huge shifting moment for you as an Aquarius rising, one where you're able to hopefully come into greater alignment with who you are. And that might be a little weird. That might be a little quirky. That might be a little different. And that's who you are meant to be. You're meant to, march to the beat of your own drum, to be someone who doesn't necessarily go along with the status quo. And that's what we love about you. And so I hope you're feeling able to kind of step further into your authentic self, Aquarius. Okay, and with this lunar eclipse in Virgo, this is happening in your 8th house. This is highlighting your house of shared resources, of intimacy, of personal transformation. And so this can put a spotlight on finances in terms of things, not necessarily our personal paycheck, but things that support us financially, like debts, taxes, loans, insurance, things like that, can come up to make sure that we have all of these things in order to help us feel more secure, more stable in life. This can also highlight a deep inner personal transformation that has been taking place throughout 2025. And it can be a good time for healing. It can be a good time to connect with a therapist or a counselor or someone to kind of help you through this inner transformative process that you've been undergoing, especially that was highlighted in 2025. And you can find very practical, real ways to improve this area of your life with this Virgo full moon eclipse in the 8th house. Okay, and last but not least, we have Pisces rising. So this solar eclipse in Aquarius is taking place in your 12th house. So for Pisces rising, this is kind of taking you on a deep inner journey. With Pluto in the 12th house, newly in the 12th house, this is really calling your attention to your subconscious, to maybe past emotional or psychological pain or trauma, and really drawing your attention to that, but not to bring up old wounds, but to shed some light on it and to offer some healing around these areas and topics for you. And so if you're feeling ready and called for that, it can be a good time to go to therapy, to find a counselor, to find a therapist, to kind of walk through some of these 12th house topics. But it can be a really, really good, beneficial time for you to kind of like rework your subconscious, to clear things out so you can move forward and have some improvement in your mental and emotional health and clarity. So it's this is just kind of like the opening eclipse here. So that will be kind of a theme throughout 2026 and 2027. Okay, and the lunar eclipse in Virgo for you is taking place in your 7th house of marriage and partnership. And so again, this is a continuation of energy that we felt throughout 2025. But this is really highlighting your relationships and your partnerships. So maybe you've had some changing dynamics in terms of marriage and relationships and one-on-one relationships over the past year or so. And this is really highlighting your relationships and maybe offering an opportunity to lean into kind of the different ways that you have experienced relationships. Maybe that is spending more time with your partner. Maybe that is deepening your relationship, deepening your connection with your partner. Or maybe your partner is just kind of going through some changes in their life and they're in the spotlight in some way and you are supporting them. If you are single, this would be a good time to put yourself out there to date. This can be a time when you are getting engaged or getting married or again, just kind of deepening a relationship or having changing relationship dynamics, and those can be highlighted during this time for Pisces. Okay, and that is your eclipse portal horoscope for all 12 signs.
Love it. Thank you so much for doing that. I know everybody loves listening to their horoscopes. It's always our most popular episodes, so thank you for doing that for everybody.
Yeah, of course. I love horoscopes.
Me too.
Who doesn't? Okay, and again, my brand new offering, it's the Eclipse Portal and Saturn Neptune alignment reading. If you are curious, want to know more, want to understand more, this is a brand new offering that I'm really excited about. Again, you don't have to schedule a live time with me. I just kind of record the reading and send it out to you. You can shoot back with an email with any questions or clarity that you may have. But I think this reading is really going to kind of help ground and anchor and support you through just this huge initiation that we're all going through in February. So I look forward to connecting with you in that reading. And thanks for listening. I am wishing you all a peaceful, easy eclipse season portal. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.